All right, ladies and gentlemen, good day. This is Frosty here with Tiger, and you're at another episode of Stack-A-Lectors. Welcome. Good day, Tiger.
Good day. Number four.
Number four. How are you guys
Season one,
liking this?
number four.
And turn my volume up just a little bit. I seem to be pretty low. There we go. Should sound better. Thank you all for being here. Definitely appreciate you all. Let's go ahead and do the roundabout. Say hi to everybody. Aspiring Alchemist, Mod Extraordinaire. Thank you so much for being here. Definitely appreciate you. Metal Mount, the Acadian Carpenter. Thank you so much for being in here. Witticism. Let's see, that's me. Starika, what's going on? How are you doing? Thank you guys for being here. Silver Spurs, what's up? Good to see you. All right. So, Tiger, we have some fun planned today. What do we got going on?
Well, we're going to talk about tariffs. What's going on with the tariffs? We'll talk about some news, and see where everybody wants to go with all this.
Outstanding. So let's go ahead, and we've already done our welcomes. We did something a little bit different, and I forgot to add the little screen change thing, so bear with me for doing that. So what I want to do is I want to start off with this, and I want to talk a little bit about the news and what's happening in the stock market. Now, just as a reminder, we are not financial advisors. The stuff that we talk about is commentary. We're not telling you how to invest, what to buy, what to sell, when to buy, when to sell. This is commentary based off of our experience, and we want to share that with you so you're aware of it. So let's make sure you understand we are not financial advisors. So in the news today, the Dow Jones today jumped up 383 points. Now, when we look at this, and I'll pull this up over a 6 month, actually just do a 1 month window, you'll see that we have been in a decline. A lot of people know this, and this is the main reason, the main topic for the discussion today. And if you look at this, you'll see that we're on a little bit of a bounce. We're starting to come back up. Some of the drastic measures that were taken have been kind of pulled back a little bit, and we'll see some stabilization. We've also seen some economic news relating to quarterly reports, and so we'll talk a little bit about that very briefly. Tiger, what are your thoughts about the stock market and how today's topic is affecting it?
Well, I'm a little shocked about that. I thought it would be a little bit worse because of people's fears on tariffs. I'm kind of starting to think that maybe they're getting used to the idea, so therefore they're willing to, take a little bit more chances than what they normally do. So, not being one who's really been sorry, not being one who's really been very good at stocks, I'm just guessing at what I'm doing, and to be honest with you, it's a little weird because when you look at the price of silver and gold, when stock markets go up, gold and silver usually go down. Right now, gold and silver are going up according to the chart I have on my screen. So having them all go up at the same time is atypical, not very classic.
So one thing that I wanted to do, and I'm glad you have, and I'll have you share your screen, and we'll show silver and gold here in just a minute. One thing that I wanted to do is, I know a lot of people are really upset, and they're saying, hey, the tariffs are crushing our retirements. We're seeing dramatic drops. And you've heard this on almost any stacking or collecting channel when they've talked about silver and gold, or when they've talked about collecting coins, or when they've talked about economic stability. And that is, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. And along those lines, something that I would like to kind of look at with you is to kind of talk about why this is important. It's important when you invest in silver and gold. You'll hear Yankee and you'll hear Silver Seeker, and you'll hear Silver Dragons, you'll hear Salivate, and they'll talk about those various items, about how to balance, to talk about silver gold ratios and how you should do that, when you should buy silver, when you should buy gold. And then when you look at collecting, it's like what's good to collect, and sometimes collectabilities go up when the others are going down. Why is that? Well, it might be rarity, it might be the coin itself, it might be a recent big auction, maybe somebody passed away and a bunch of famous coins were coming out on the market, so maybe the prices were going up because something really rare was released to the public. And then you're going to hear financial advisors talk about what I'm going to show you today. And again, I'm not a financial advisor, but one thing that's really important, and the reason that you should dial into understanding what's in your portfolio, is this. Now, I'm going to scroll down here, and I pulled up a couple things that I've had here before, and you'll see there's a variety of stocks. And one of the stocks that's here, and I'm going to click on, let's see, where did it go? Johnson & Johnson. Okay, so Johnson & Johnson took a little bit of a hit today, but overall they stayed pretty flat. But when I come over here and I look at the 6-month window, even though the chart that I just showed you, the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones, even though they're taking a dive, when you look at Johnson & Johnson, it's doing the opposite. Well, why is that? Well, you have to understand the sector and understand where they're at and where they're in and what they're involved in and what's happening in that particular cycle. So when I talk about not putting all of your eggs in one basket, one thing that's really important for you to understand is even if you have something like a 401k, or even if you have an investment portfolio, for all of my military or the government workers out there that have something like the thrift savings plan, it's important that you understand what's in that portfolio. And you can always reach out to the person managing that portfolio and say, you know what? We're coming into summertime, and there are some things that are going to increase. A really good idea would be something like Red Bull or Monster. Now, I showed the stock of Monster, and I think if I can remember this, it's MNST, I think. Monster beverage. Right. There you go. I'm trying to remember what all these are. When you look at this, you see the exact same pattern here over the last 6 months. We see another increase. So it's kind of important to understand the general time frame, what's happening with the season, what's happening with these things, because understanding this along with financials, you can't just look at a stock and think you understand what it's going to do if you don't understand the financials of the company. So you have to really understand the financials. This is why I'm not a financial advisor. I have people that I go to get this information. But you can find when it's good times to buy things and when it's bad times to buy things. And this is how you can help diversify your portfolio. So if you guys are interested in this, if this is something that you guys are interested in learning more about, let us know, because we can get a financial advisor to talk about portfolio management and doing those kind of things. We can bring them onto another Stack-A-Lector if this is something you want us to do. Again, the entire purpose of Stack-A-Lector is not only as stackers and collectors, but to make sure that the community is set up for success and make sure that you guys are protected in the items that happen. Now, Tiger, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go ahead and share your screen, and let's look at the precious metals aspect of things and see where we're at. Hey, Phil the board, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. Thank you so much for coming in. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over. Now you're seeing Tiger's screen, and he's going to go over some of the bullion markets. Tiger, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So basically, this is very strange. It's usually when the dollar does better, when the stock market does better, gold and silver take a dive. And we're not seeing that. We are seeing it climb and to a record high nonetheless of $30,059.10. That is very atypical in a bullish stock market. Likewise with silver, it only took a little bit of a dive, not by much, from 34 and 2 cents to 33. I don't know what happened to that last part of the screen, but okay. So basically, there it is, 33.82. So this is very strange. You see a little bit of a pullback on silver. You always see a little bit more of a pullback on silver because it's an industrial metal, and I'm sure that the industries out there do not want to uh, lose the ability to buy it as cheaply as possible. And eventually, though, silver, aka Tag Along Timmy, will start following gold, and eventually we're going to have a serious spike, which normally happens when they can't control the market anymore. Similarly, when you look at the gold and silver ratio, gold has climbed a little faster than silver, so we're back to almost 90, ratio of 90, indicating that silver is still a better buy. Some people who seriously play the gold silver ratio might consider selling their gold and buying more silver, waiting for the flip to happen, and then flip it again to try to get more by converting their gold to silver. Me personally, I tend not to do that. I tend to try to keep what I got, except for personal SHTF, which I've talked about quite a few times. But like Frosty said, we're not financial advisors, and certainly not me, because the stock market I've always lost on. The only thing I've seemed to have done decent in my lifetime is gold and silver, because the increased spot price, I've actually increased my dollar value, even though you can't really go by that because the fiat dollar isn't what it used to be, but it is the standard by which we go through right now. So, would I consider going into stocks? Maybe. You brought up Johnson and Johnson, one of many pharmaceuticals, one of many that are highly successful and been around forever.
Right.
I think the same thing was happening with Pfizer, Mega House, and in the whole stock market arena for pharmaceuticals. My only concern with the stock market in pharmaceuticals is if uh, RFK Jr. is able to take out the ability of the pharmaceuticals to be 75% of the revenue for the TV industry, especially in the news industry, which is going to take out a large section of their revenue, and which is also going probably to have a chance of decreasing their stock prices simply because of their ability to reach out to the public. One might also use the argument that that wouldn't really matter because they would encourage the physicians to push their products. Now, that's something I've experienced in my own personal life. And some doctors will try the new stuff. Me, I was a little bit on the slow side. I figured if it was brand spanking new, let the other people put their patients through it, and I'll watch to see if there were problems that developed later. A tactic that worked well for me, because there was a weight loss medicine at the time. I can have trouble remembering. It begins with an R, and when everybody was on it, and everybody was flocking to the doctors to lose weight, and like I'm starting to worry about uh, not portal hypertension. Um, uh, uh, Basically high blood pressure within the lungs. And there's only one way to check that without going to the ICU and having an invasive procedure, and that was with an echocardiogram, to which at that time most of my colleagues were making fun of me for ordering a lot of echoes. Turned out I was right. Turned out that later on it was pulled from the market for the same reason I just mentioned. So, it all depends on what's going on, because pharmaceuticals won't tell you the truth about everything. They want you just to write their prescriptions and want the patients to take their prescriptions, and therefore they make the bigger profit. So I share that with you simply because I want you to realize, to them, it's a business, and their stocks may be affected by what RFK Jr. is going to do. Maybe. I can't see the future. I don't have the omnipotence of God nor the wisdom of Solomon. But I thought I'd share that with you. So if you are going to consider that, you may want to invest a little time in doing your own due diligence, especially in pharmaceuticals. So I ran out of things to say. Your turn.
Yeah. Well, when we're talking about this, again, you can get into your thoughts about a particular stock, but what you really need to focus on here, and I understand where Tiger's coming from when it comes to this aspect. I definitely understand why you would want to focus on, hey, making sure those things are done. However, when you're looking at investing, when you're looking at setting yourself up, financials are extremely important. I showed Tiger the other day, and I'm not going to pull this up because we need to get into our next topic, but I showed him a great example of this in Abbott Laboratories. Abbott Laboratories is dropping while the rest of the sector is going up. Why is that? Because their financials are bad. 2 consecutive quarters of bad numbers. So while, again, don't choose a sector. Whenever you're looking at these things, don't choose a sector. You might be able to get lucky because a sector is coming out with something and there's something on the rise, but be careful doing that. Always look at a company's financials. Same thing when you're looking at choosing where you're going to buy silver or gold from. You're not going to do it because your Aunt Sally said so. You're going to do so because you've done the research. You found some people, good reputable sources that have good reliable metals, and you're going to buy from them. So again, do the same research with your stock portfolio that you would in searching for a rare coin or when searching for silver and gold. But the whole premise of talking about financial stability and talking about making sure that you're staged for situations like this gets us to our topic for today. Now, normally we would have topic of the day, little animation come up, but I screwed that up today, so I apologize for not having that. But today's topic of the day is tariffs. Now, Tiger and I have talked a little bit about this, but what we really want to do today is open the floor to you. What are your thoughts? What are your concerns about a tariff? We're going to talk very, very briefly, no more than 5 or 6 minutes, about what's happening, the good and bad sides. There's positive and negatives about tariffs. And then we really want to get your opinion. What are your thoughts about it? What's going on with that? And if you have any questions, again, you can always go through and hit question. I'll change this here. If you have a question, put in a capitalized question, and then we'll come back and answer it. So anybody, terrific. That's funny. That was pretty good. Anybody who says this is a very simple thing and it's easy has not really looked at the science of dealing with trade deficits and looking at the balance of imports and exports. It's a very, very complicated thing. However, to kind of oversimplify it, and Tiger, you tell me if you agree with this, moderation is the word of the day.
I think that fits on almost everything in life.
And so I think what we're seeing right now, and again, I think some of these tariffs, some, not all of them, many of them I don't agree with, but some of these tariffs are good. They're good in certain areas and arenas. However, this current trade situation that we're in with Mexico and Canada, I think it's really bad. You really don't want to get involved with a trade war with your allies, with your neighbors. That's really not a wise thing to do. There are reasons why you would do it. However, I want to make sure that people understand that it's not the tariff itself; it's how the tariffs are utilized that is the problem. So I want to go ahead and ask, see if Tiger has anything. Again, Tiger, keep it under 2 or 3 minutes on what your thoughts are, and then I really want to just open it up to the chat and let the chat kind of just, what are your thoughts?
Well, personally, I think tariffs have the potential to do much better than taxes. And I did 2 videos where I talked about tariffs and taxes. I went back to the beginning of our country and then did a subsequent video where I brought it home. Basically, I think tariffs have the potential to do better than taxes and decrease the tax burden on us, the citizens, but that means that everybody has to play fair. And I'm not convinced that people are going to play fair. I believe businessmen are going to try to maximize their profit margins. And in that so doing, I think that they're going to take advantage of their workers as they always tend to lean towards. That's going to increase the desire for more and more. Oh shoot, I lost the train of my thought. Uh, uh, the organizations that fight for the worker. I'm having a little like uh, like the UMW.
Unions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know why I had a brain fart, but I did. That means the unions are going to start striking up a little bit more. And unions in the past did a good job fighting for the worker and the rights of the worker and the safety of the worker. And then eventually they became bigger than what they needed to be, and they started becoming more and more and more greedy, which added to the price of everything, which then led to, in my opinion, led to globalization and NAFTA and all that, when then we went full cycle again. The only way to do that is for it to be done fairly, or for the government to get more and more and more involved and then subsequently start mandating prices, which is going to put us more in a socialistic environment. So it's a slippery slope. It's a tricky slippery slope. Um, I think we're all sick and tired of being taxed to death by the government. So we voted Trump in knowing that he's going to try to uh, free up our taxes. And, you know, I think he's gone a little. I think most of his tariffs are probably good and moderate, but I think he has realized he only has 4 years in which to get this done. So he's coming out of the starting block, with both barrels blazing, hitting with as many tariffs as he can hit with, and then waiting for the dust to settle so that maybe he can pull it back to something else. That's my own personal opinion. What's yours?
Well, I think Aspiring Alchemist makes a really good comment in chat, and it's Trump is playing 5D chess. We don't exactly know what he's going for. Um,
I believe that.
that's a great statement. However, we do understand some of the things he's looking for. So the purpose of tariffs, right? Tariffs, they're very complex, very nuanced. Joseph Lopez, I see your question. I'll get to that in just a minute because that's something that definitely want to talk about. What is the primary purpose? And the primary purpose is we've got to be very careful. And Tiger, I almost always say this wrong. Okay, I'm making aware of it now. Trump is trying to do his best to get us get us away from the opportunity of hyperinflation. Is that correct? Did I say that correct this time?
Well, I think so.
Okay.
Hyperinflation is the state where the value of the dollar, or in our case, the dollar, buys less and less in a very short period of time. So when you get paid, you hurry up and run and buy the stuff you need because 5 minutes from now it's going to cost more of the dollar that you have, without you earning more.
Which usually leads to failing economies and failing of that specific monetary system.
Inflation, cash is king. Hyperinflation, cash is trash.
Okay, yeah, so I said it right that time. So one of the things that he's trying to do is he's trying to make sure that we don't go into that hyperinflation state. Now, the other thing, now I'm not saying that what he's doing is going to be successful. I don't know. I'm not skilled in that area or that arena. So anything that I would suggest would be hyperbole. However, one thing that I absolutely can state on is that he is trying to get more goods to be manufactured back in the United States. One of the things with tariffs, one of the positive things with tariffs is, let's say that you have Switzerland. Switzerland is a good country. They are very economically stable, and they have one of the best watches and one of the best knives in the world. All right. So let's say you buy $1,000 Swiss Army pocket knife. Well, that Swiss company may turn around and spend $1,000 in a certificate of deposit with the U.S. Treasury. Now, what does that do? Well, that allows for the opportunity for, well, I shouldn't say theoretically, a country to have a trade deficit, right? So I'm having a hard time explaining this because I'm not the best one to explain this. If you have a situation where you do everything in-house and then you import, it can be bad for the country because the people that are producing in the country, if the quality of goods that are coming in are better than what's being produced, then people are going to stop buying the produced items in that particular area. They're going to go buy externally, which means jobs are going to get transferred externally. So we've seen this all through the 80s, into the 90s, jobs leaving the United States, going to Mexico, going to Africa, going to India, going to China. We've seen tons of large companies shrinking down their footprint in the United States to get away from tax situations. Well, what this does is the tariff tax those goods and urges people to come back into the United States, bring those jobs back into the United States, start manufacturing those items, and start building our economy internally instead of having the reliance on an external force and external structure. Now, in that regard, tariffs can be used very, very well. But in this particular case, I think we have an over, shall I say, stimulated filing of tariffs pretty much unilaterally across the board. And it's causing a reaction that may not have been exactly what was expected. I know that Trump is a businessman. Yeah, Joe, that's true, right? And so that's not going to happen. And if you look at most of your tariffs, they're going to be on specific goods, usually in ones that we can compete against. Usually the tariffs, so for instance, if we're looking at agriculture and we're looking at rice coming in from Japan, we don't have a great opportunity here in the United States to create rice. We're not going to be tariffing the rice at an extreme absorbent amount. It just doesn't make sense for us. It wouldn't behoove. It'd be more of a burden on the people than it would be on that coming across. However, when we look at the IT side, we look at Samsung versus, what's a U.S. manufacturing TV? Do we even have one?
Yes, I was just thinking.
I have to think about that for a minute. What company in the U.S. manufactures TVs? Anyway, well, let's say again. RCA. RCA. Okay, that works. RCA works. Okay, so let's say that you're doing this. Well, if you look at the TV quality between an RCA and a Samsung, which one would you rather buy? Well, obviously, the higher quality, the better. In most cases, is going to be the Samsung. Now, you can get reduced prices, but the reduced prices on the RCA usually equates to crap product. So if you overzealously get those tariffs put into place, what ends up happening is that crap RCA now becomes almost as expensive as the other because the demand to buy internally, you can buy a little bit cheaper, but now that cheaper product, the less well-built product is more money. And so it ultimately becomes a tax on us. Even for crap products, we end up paying more. So if done incorrectly, can really hurt us. And so I think that's one of the issues. I'm going to ask this next question, but I'm going to have Tiger answer it. Joe Lopez says, could tariffs force coin shops to buy Canadian and Mexican silver gold for more money from the public since tariffs are enforced by Trump?
Well, force coin shops to buy from the public. Now, they might get cheaper rates buying directly. That's usually the case. But my concern comes with the word force. You can't really force
Exactly.
Americans to sell to a coin shop or to whatever. If you go in, you're probably going to get less money from a coin shop than you would, say, like SD Bullion or one of the other ones. You might have a higher chance. The other possibility is selling directly. You might have a better chance of getting more money out of a direct sell, which takes a little bit more time than picking up the phone or strolling into a coin shop. So I'm not sure. The word force, I don't think that they have the authority to force anyone to do anything in our country as of this moment. So that's my concern with that one question.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I don't think, and you can tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. I might be. But silver and gold are going up. The economy for a couple months has gone down a little bit. You've seen that in the stock markets. But not everything is affected unilaterally. And it's really easy, very easy, to take a situational component and spread it to everything. And I think that it's that reaction. Now, you guys have heard me say this. I've said this to Tiger professionally and personally. I've said this to you guys in the streams, professionally and personally. It is very important that we act on information and we don't react. When you look at these items, it's really important that you take time and go, how genuinely is this going to affect me? Now, from goods and services, if you're looking at buying a stove or an oven, or you're looking at buying some sort of steel or something like that that has a 25% tariff coming from Canada, yes, absolutely. You're funny. I just saw your message come across. That was funny. You're absolutely going to pay a higher price because the tariff is affecting steel or the tariff is going to be affecting those items. If you look at situational war in Ukraine and you're looking at maybe minerals that we get from that part of the region, then yes, maybe the prices for those because of the conflict is going to be a little bit more. Or let's say we get a lot of our medical supplies from Canada or from China. And if you remember what happened during COVID, a lot of the medical equipment, the plastics and things of that nature are manufactured there. It was very, very, very hard for medical infrastructure to be up to base when it comes to their inventory because they couldn't get it from those manufacturers. So when you look at those things, absolutely those tariffs directly affect us. But it's not going to happen in every sector, and it's not going to happen unilaterally across the board. Now, Meadow Matt says things changed when Trump came into office. He rocked the boat. Yes, everybody's freaked out because right now nobody knows This goes back to what Aspiring Alchemist said. It's a very great comment. He's playing 5D chess. He is a businessman. He is a strategist on a level many of us don't understand. And whether you like Elon Musk or not, there's a guy who's taken 4 impossible businesses and made them work. The guy understands some stuff. You don't become a billionaire and be an idiot. Now, a lot of people look at this and go, well, he's taking over. No, he's not. What Congress has asked them to do is to look at it, evaluate it. He doesn't have the legislative authority. He doesn't have the legal right, the constitutional authority to make any changes or to fire anybody. He provides the information to Congress. Congress makes their determination. They put their stamp on it. They send it out and they shut it down. Doge is not the people shutting it down. It's important for people to understand that. Doge is providing reports to the people who make decisions, and they're the ones doing this. Okay, does that... Go ahead.
Basically, Elon Doge is nothing more than a consulting organization.
Exactly.
They don't have the power of nothing. They have the power that Trump has given them, which is to be hired as a consultant. Hi, Easy Coins. And the thing is that, if you listen only to the left wing, they will throw as many spitballs at Trump as possible. Once again, I'm not a Trump lover or a Trump hater. I tend to agree with him anywhere between 60 to 70% of the time, but not always. The level of tariffs that are going on, I'm worried about it. But we all voted him in. He won by a landslide. It's time to let him do his job. We've had 4 years of horrible, and we are sick and tired of more and more taxes and more and more taxes and more and more taxes. Let this man do his job. He was voted in to do a job. Let him do it.
I want to ask, Tiger, I want to interrupt you real quick and ask a question. Okay, well, I don't even need to ask the question because Metal Matt just pounded me in the gut and answered it straight away. Like he was in my head, like knew exactly what was going on.
What's GAO?
Say again?
What is GAO?
Metal Matt, you want to put that in there? So what is actually happening here is there are certain, it's funny because I was like, so what exactly is, what's happening here? There are lobbyists, there are people that support certain politicians, there are certain things that can't happen. And when you look at the general construct of things, there are certain things they just can't do. Why? Well, because they're political death sentences. And so, not that you necessarily need a scapegoat, but anytime you're doing, and we've talked about this when we talked about looking at what's inside the gold. Come on, the gold. Fort Knox.
Fort Knox. Oh, good. I'm not the only one.
What do you want? What do you want people to do? You want a audit of Fort Knox. Outstanding. Who do you want to do that? Depends on what the ultimate goal is. If you really want to look at what is there, you're going to have an independent contractor who's under security, very, very tight security, non-disclosure statements. They can't relay any information under perjury of national security and treason and all that kind of stuff, right? You really want to protect some of the specifics of that, but you want to have somebody who's outside of that to come in and perform that third party, that quote unquote unbiased party. Now, I can't necessarily say that Elon Musk is unbiased, but what I can say is he doesn't have a vested interest. He's not being paid for this. This is a consultancy. So in that regard, does that mean that he's quote unquote, as I've heard this said in various streams, is he's Trump's monkey? No, I don't think Elon Musk is anyone's monkey. If Elon Musk is tired of a conversation, he will walk away from it. If he is bored with the information, he doesn't have the information, he will search it and find it. However, he is not something that the American people voted in, right? But that doesn't matter. We don't vote in our consultants. We vote in our politicians. Elon Musk is not a politician. And so it's important to make those distinctions. Just like it's important to do your research and to make sure you understand what's happening, it's important you understand the construct of the person who's in that role and what their role actually is. A lot of people are like, well, he's come in and he's taken this position as on the seat of this government department of fraud, waste, and abuse. But when you look at what's happening now, there are some stuff that's happening that I don't necessarily agree with. Okay, and but that's me. It's because I don't see at that 50 or 60,000 foot level. I'm not pervy to all the laws and the trade and the dealings and the State Department and their interactions with other nations and what people. So we only see aspects of it on the media, basically what they want us to see. So I am not privy to 95% of the information. We get a very small aspect of this. So we have to make educated decisions based off of stuff we understand and stuff we know. And when we look at the stock market, yes, the stock market is decreasing. Yes, we see the stock market is dropping. However, when we look at those particular items, we were due for a check anyway. We were due for a balance in the steady stream that was going on ever since we had that big printing of the money from the Federal Reserve. Metal Matt, we didn't vote in deputy secretaries, chiefs, bureaucrats, but they're appointed, right? You elect them through proxy. When you vote for the president, you elect them through proxy. The proxy is that the president is the one, the executive office is the one that eliminates, or it gets to illuminate who gets to be in that position, right? They're the ones that decide that. So when we're doing that, we're voting for them by proxy. We don't necessarily have to agree with it. That's why they're appointed. Appointees can be released at any point in time without question. And we've seen this in the first Trump administration when we went through, God, how many Department of Defense secretaries, right? I think we went through 2 or 3. It happened. So this is one of those things where people need to understand when we elect our political leaders, we have to be smart about who they're going to pick because we're voting for them by proxy. Whereas Elon Musk wasn't somebody that we voted by proxy because he's not in a political office. So it is, I know it's a nuance, but it does make a difference. What are your thoughts on that, Tiger?
Well, you and I, a few nights back, if you remember, we looked at the values of different things, the dollar, gold, silver, and the time frames that Trump was in office the first term. And almost uniform, except for some small variability. Everything stayed stable. Everything stayed flatline. Except for whenever COVID hit and trade wars hit, everything pretty much stayed stable. Before Trump hit and after Trump was gone, there was serious increases in instability. There was increases in the price of gold and silver, and as many of us know, the rising price of gold is a mark of a failing economy. So it was failing before Trump got in office the first time. It was failing after he was out of office. Hey, vote for Pedro. So basically, we are really early on into his into his second term. And he is working hard to reverse everything that happened during the Biden administration, but it's going to take a number of months before Biden rules are changed over to Trump rules. So I think we're going to see some things that just don't make sense unless you consider the fact that our government is a very big juggernaut, and it's hard to change the direction of such a huge monster such as our government. We
Right.
can't turn on a dime. We turn through a large arc. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of changes immediately, and the people who can't see beyond the here and now are going to blame Trump for what are lingering over Biden rules. And that they just won't see it until much later. Where you and I, who already know because we've lived it at some smaller scale, you being Navy, me being Army, things just don't change very fast. So
Things
it,
can change fast. But when you do that, you have to equate something, and I didn't mean to cut you off. Please forgive me for that. I was a Navy vet, right? And so let's take a carrier, or if you guys were in the Marines, or you guys are Army, um, troop transports. They're huge monsters, the behemoths. For those of you who have ever been around a train and you've seen a train barreling down the track and a tractor trailer stuck on the train tracks, they can see it from 2 miles away, but they cannot stop. It's a big machine and it's already in motion and it takes a lot. One thing that I want people to look at when they look at the political environment and they're making decisions based off of how a president is doing is that anywhere from 6 to 18 months, there is a combination between the one side of the executive orders and the legal actions that are already there and that motion that has to stop, and the 12 months that's going to take for the new policies, the new laws, the new things to get in and actually get through that legal precedent and get through the reviews and get through the courts. So you're looking at anywhere from 10 to 18, 19, maybe even 20 months before you have a really good, solid idea of how that president is doing in his term. Because there's a lot of after effect in the previous one. We saw this in the we saw this in the first Trump administration with the first quarter spending by Donald Trump when we're looking at what happened for President Obama. But when you look at the numbers, most of that number came from the items that were already in the wheelhouse of President Obama. So you look at Trump's spending for that particular year, and Tiger, you can validate this because I showed you this the other day. We were breaking it down. I couldn't find a way to uncomplicate it. But when you look at the quarterly assessment, almost all of Trump's spending was in the first quarter of his era. Why was that? Because it already happened through Obama. Well, then you look at Biden's first administration, his first term looks really solid. Looks beautiful, like he's doing a great job. But that's some of the after effect. And then you see the stuff coming through. We're going to have that 12-month cycle that's going to happen. So as he's doing this, it's going to compound all the other stuff that's already occurring. And so we have to be very understanding that this stuff takes time. And it does not stop on a dime. Just like a train's not going to stop for a tractor trailer that's stuck on the train tracks, or a carrier's not going to stop on a dime. If some little tugboat pulls in front of it, it's going to run over the damn thing. And right now we're in a situation where, unfortunately, we are in a train that's moving at full steam, and he's trying to turn that thing on a dime, and it's just we're not going to see it. But as it starts to move, as I believe it was Vincent said, that's what he meant by pain, right? There's drastic changes that are coming, and we're going to experience some months, maybe a year of some difficult time before we start to see positive effects occur. Not all of them are going to be good. Not all of them are going to be good for employees. Not all of them are going to be good for the economy. But I think overall, when we're done, we're going to see the United States. I think we're going to see a nation stronger than we were 2 years ago. And ultimately, that's what it's about. Now, I think that's his goal. And so I'm hoping, strategizing, trying to make sure I have my finances in order, making sure I monitor these things and talk about these various sectors and look at not putting all my eggs in one basket or putting all my eggs into one specific economy, but just making sure that I'm monitoring and being a good steward of what I have, because there's going to be some hard times ahead, and we know this. And the best thing you can do is protect.
I think a lot part of the pain is that we, for decades, have been nursed on the government nipple of freebie this and freebie that, and all these freebies have to come from somewhere because there is no such thing as a free lunch. And now these are going to be taken away. People like their little freebie this and freebie that, and they're not going to like it. Plus, on top of it, the fear of change. People are absolutely frightened to death of change.
Yep. Well,
and until they get settled in their new lifestyle, they're going to stay frightened of change. You can't get around it. It's just the nature of human nature.
Yeah, I think we need to have Middle Matt on. They can just talk about this. Like, I mean, he's on point with everything he's saying. Very informed. I'm really great to see some of the comments that Metal Matt's making. Vote for Pedro. Government moves typically at a glacial pace. That's absolute truth. The thing is just like glacier, even if it's going in a wrong direction, or lava is another great one. They experienced this in Hawaii. Lava moves very, very slow, but it's hard to move a village, right? You can move the people, but the village is going to burn. And so we have to understand that the U.S. is going to be in some, we've put so much money in places where it shouldn't be there, that we have put ourselves in a very bad situation, and we have to navigate these waters. We're there as a nation. We have to navigate through this. This is not going to be fun. So when we look at these tariffs, I think some of them are going to be beneficial. I think some of them are going to hurt us. I think it's going to wake up the nations that we are tariffing, and there's going to come to the table some really big opinions. We see that the pride, the nationality of Canada has already flared. They pulled stuff off their shelves. They've pulled liquor and shops and stuff like that. They've said, no, we're not taking this. We're not taking American money. Those things are what gain political attention. And it's that the people looking at this saying, hey, we need a change. And those are the things that are going to really kind of help affect that. And Trump will notice this. And so I think that some of his hard-lying decisions are going to change. They're going to soften. I think some of the places where he's been soft, as they identify some of the issues, they're going to harden up. I think we're going to see some of these things that are going to be, we're going to see some major changes in the next 6-8 months. But remember, these things take time, and you have to stand firm. You have to stand strong so that people don't, they can't play you, and they have to know they can't play you. And once they know where you stand, then you can negotiate. Then you can come to the table. And we've seen this in other situations. Tiger and I have talked about this a lot. And that is, you can be a hard nose and you can play hardball, but if you come to the negotiation table and you're not ready to negotiate, nothing's going to happen. And it can actually bode well for the person who doesn't want to negotiate. So I think we have a situation where we could be in trouble if he doesn't cool his jets a little bit. But I think the intent is correct. But again, what's the old adage? No good deed goes unpunished, right?
So true.
We've got to be careful of that. Hey, Tiger, it's almost time. Do we want to do a little giveaway, or do we want to just randomly pick somebody in this stream to send a Stack-A-Lector Pack 2, or what do you want to do?
Do you have the random picker ready to go?
It's all ready. All I got to do is throw in the exclamation point wiener.
So what are you sending me? Ha!
I am going to send you a bucket of rubber dong from Korea.
Yeah!
All right, so let's go ahead and throw that in there. The winner is going to be, and it's going to happen from both. It doesn't matter what stream you're in. Mad Stacker, congratulations. I'm going to be sending you a sticker pack. This has both Tiger and mine stickers, as well as the Stack-A-Lector, as well as both of our poker chips. I've got poker chips for both Tiger and myself, and we'll be sending that out. So, Matt, I've got your address. I'll be sending that out. Thank you so much for being in the stream and for supporting the channel. I do actually, you know what's funny? Check this out. Mr. and Mrs. West Texas Stacker. Speaking of that, check it out. Dong dong. I got a dong too. I got proof. All right, folks. Well, hey, Tiger, do you have any final words as we close up this fourth edition of Stack-A-Lector?
Well, first of which, I want to thank everyone for coming. I know it's an honor to have you all here, and it's also kind of going to take a little bit because people aren't used to the collaboration yet. I'd like to ask all of you to spread out the word, and so that everyone will know that we exist in this collaborative effort. One time on Frosty's, one time on mine. Usually it's going to be about a 2-week interval, with the exception that there's going to be some times when that changes, mainly because my job is not so easy to work with. But it will be doing that. Now, when I get to where I want to be, I'm also going to start doing Thursday evening live streams on it's just going to be Tiger Stacker on the Tiger Stacker channel. So please spread out the word for Stack-A-Lector. Next, don't freak out. You can't change it anyway. We voted Trump and what I like to call the Avengers in office. You can't unvote them. It's the best thing to do is take care of your families, take care of your household, do what you got to do to take care of you. Hey, OC, but basically take care of you first, take care of your family first, and in the process, stack everything that you can, not only the gold and the silver, but the water, the food, the security, the energy, the friends and family, the community. Take and try to stack as much as you can, because that's the one thing you can control. If things go kaplooey internationally or nationally, you've taken care of your household. And that's always going to be the best advice I can give the individual. So, and if you ever want to share your experiences and all that, Frosty and I are always here. That's the purpose of this channel. Not only so that you can learn about the advantages of a stacker and a collector, but also in the symbiosis that can happen between said individuals, but also because we are going to cover other things for the education of all of you. It's how to take care of yourself. I mean, for instance, you didn't expect us to talk about the stock market, did you? And yet we're trying to cover everything to give you all the best basis on to be successful. So come and visit us. Please spread out the word. We're going to be here. We're going to be here a long time. So that's it. Your turn.
All right. Well, first off, just so you guys are aware, there's only 20 away from Mr. and Mrs. West Texas Stacker from hitting 1K. So make sure you guys get over there and sub them up. That would be really good. They come in quite frequently and sub up the channels and say hi and participate. So 1K is a big milestone that allows for full monetization. So get over and sub them up. I put that link in chat up above. Please make sure you go over and check them out. And again, thank you for your guys' support. But as far as what Tiger said, again, this collaboration is something that we have thought long and hard about. Tiger and I talked about this for over a year. And it's like, what do we want? How do we want it to work? And so if you guys have information that you really want to know about, and you have a topic that you're hearing in places, but you just want somebody to really break it down, or you want us to really gain and bring some solid people in and ask some hard-hitting questions, let us know. So email Tiger and I and let us know what's happening, and make sure that you get that information to us, and we'll do what we can to meet you in that area. Again, it's really important that we grow the community, and we're not trying to compete with anybody. We consider ourselves accessories to the community, right? We want people to utilize us for skill sets. We want people to come here and help us, but we're not competing with anybody. You'll hear us quite frequently talk about many, many, many other channels because it's not necessarily we want to see our channels grow. Absolutely. But we want to support good content. And if you look at what I've been putting out the last few days, it's really combating false information and fake information. The last thing I will add before I let everybody go is Tiger is doing or has asked everybody if they are interested in being a part of kind of an interactive live stream where they break down the actual process that he did in his video regarding the specific gravity and how to use a string, a beaker, some water, and a coin to determine whether or not it is silver or gold. If you're interested in doing that, he's offered the opportunity for you to come together with him. Please make sure you email him and let him know you're interested, or go to his community page and comment on his post and let him know that you're interested in doing that. Likewise, if you have something that you want me to walk you through, whether it's a coin, a counterfeit, you want me to get people up, I've already talked to Blue Ridge Silverhound. Blue Ridge Silverhound has said he's more than willing to come up. Let me know. This is what we're here for. We want to grow and provide the best conversation and the best information that we can with the community. So that's all I have. Tiger, go ahead and do your sign off. I'll give you mine, and then we'll let you guys get on your way.
Well, before you go, the specific gravity test is a cheap test. I guess it's more of a work in progress. When I did that video, I put over 120 hours into it, plus the handouts, and it came pretty clear to me that despite the fact I tried to simplify it, maybe I didn't do as good of a job. So it's going to be an interesting process, but it's cheap. You don't have to have a lot of money to do it. It's going to help you in the process. So, so I'd be really grateful to help all of you have a cheap test for verification. So that's what I'm here for. Enough said about that.
All right.
I'm going to sign off. Good night, everyone.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, be well, be blessed, and Tiger and I will see you guys in the streams.